Hey everybody! Happy Halloween! Hope everyone is doing well. I thought this would be a great time to come on and talk about authenticity. On the day that we're going out embodying a whole new persona. Because on Halloween it's accepted. And I told you I would let you know what my costume was. I am currently wearing it. I've got my props over here. Miley's helping because I'm on Miley's chair. Sit, sit, thank you. Anyway, I have a shaver and an umbrella. Part of it is just making fun of myself with my new haircut, because when I think of myself, I visualize myself as the profile picture on the channel, but I got sick and my hair started falling out, and here we are. So, in this morning's video, I told you I would tell you, if you didn't already know, who I'm going as for Halloween, and that would be Britney Spears. My clues were 2007, pop star, and paparazzi. And the reason that I thought it would be fun to talk about Britney, like I said, it's not to make fun of her situation, because it's not funny at all. It's really, when you think about a situation, she was given a public persona when she was 11 years old. You know, at 11, we have no idea who we are. And then she was put in a position where she had to uphold that image well into her 20s. And at the time, in 2007, when the whole situation went down, where all over the tabloids, meltdown, this, that, the other, I mean, can you imagine? We all have enough of our own issues. Without going to the grocery store and seeing every bad moment of our life plastered on headlines for everyone to judge and weigh in on, and that's a very tough situation to be in. And, if you look deeper into it, she really just wanted to know who she was. And she wasn't allowed to express herself authentically because she had this persona to uphold. It was an expectation from not just the people in her immediate circle, which is what most of us would deal with. This was on an international level, this image, this persona of Britney, and what she was expected to be and how she was expected to act. And through that time period, her soul was just crying out to be herself, to express herself at an authentic level, and yet, because of the situation in her life, she wasn't able to. And she did write a memoir, The Woman in Me, and where she was able to kind of tell her side of the story, and how she was really just losing her grip because she wanted to get control of her life and have privacy and autonomy and be able to stand in the power of who she was at her core. So I was not wanting to make fun of the situation by any means, but I think it speaks very well to our topic for today, because how many of us struggle with authenticity? If you remember, like when you were a kid, like when we were little and we would play dress up and we'd pretend to be a superhero, or we'd pretend to be the president, or it depends on what you were interested in. And sometimes looking back to that can kind of help us to see, what were we trying to be? Because our childhood and those early years before society stepped in to help us decide who we were going to be, and I say that very sarcastically, because normally what society helps us do is shove down any little bit of uniqueness we have so that we can conform and keep people around us comfortable. A lot of times when you start trying to step out and grow, it makes the people in your life feel small. This is not your fault nor your responsibility, but it's something to be aware of, because it's not done in a blatant way. It's usually done in a very subtle way, where you start to expand and they start to criticize or to downplay your efforts or your achievements. And it's not anything that you're doing wrong. It's something inside them that sees you growing, that brings to their attention that they're not. And because your growth is making them uncomfortable, they want you to stop so they can be comfortable again. And that's when you have to just say, no, I'm sorry. My needs, my growth, my life are too important to let you keep me small. And a lot of times in these situations, in these moments in our lives when we start to grow and expand, this is when we'll have to end certain relationships. We'll have to step away from certain people, because once you grow beyond their comfort zone, that relationship can become toxic. And it's nothing that you've done, it's just something within them. Miley is so helpful. Sit. Hey. Okay, I think we've got Miley under control for now. But the reason Halloween seemed like a perfect time to approach this topic is because on Halloween we get the opportunity to shop around and look at different personas that we would like to embody just for one night. And it's safe. We're safe from judgment because it's expected. It's a holiday. It's what people do. No one's going to judge you for showing up in a costume on Halloween because that's what we do. So one of the things to ask yourself is, like, what costume did you pick this year? And if you didn't pick a costume this year, what have you gone as in the past? What costumes have you picked in the past? Because that can actually give us a lot of insight into either aspects of ourselves that we don't express, mainly because we feel uncomfortable. You know, it may be something that is deep inside us, but because we've never actually expressed it in our lives, we don't feel comfortable introducing that part of ourselves to the people around us because it's outside of our norm. And when we start stepping outside of our norm, again, it makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes we feel like we have to explain, well, you know, I'm trying out a new look, or, well, you know, I'm going to do this. We don't feel confident in our normal circle bringing out these new aspects of ourselves. We have established dynamics in our relationships, and when you start changing that, things can get awkward. So think about, is there some part of you deep inside that wants to be expressed that played a part in the costume that you selected? And another way that can play out is it's a trait or a quality that we would like to possess, like a superhero or a public persona, some larger than life character that we wish we could portray that confidence, that personality, you know, just that big presence that they have. And when you put that costume on, you step out and it just gives you the energy or the inspiration to embody that trait, that quality, even if just for one night. And so those are little things that I thought of about, you know, Halloween and costume and playing dress up when you were a kid. These are clues that you can use, because it's hard for us to maintain who we are in a world that wants to tell us that it's not okay. Especially one where we feel pressured to fit in and conform from a very young age. And as we grow older, we end up going through life so many times we're putting on a costume every day. We're putting on the costume of expectation. We're putting on the costume of accepted. We're putting on the costume of normal. And it just squashes who we truly are at our soul level. And we may not even know who we are at this point in our life because it's been suppressed for so long. So I encourage you to take some time to really think about when you were younger. I tell you what, I could not ask for a better helper than Miley. So, take some time to think about how you were, how you felt when you were very young. And I'm talking about, like, if you can think back, if you can remember back to maybe around kindergarten, because that's right before we really get involved in school. We really start feeling peer pressure. We start getting into the, routine of the expectations of teachers and peer group and things of that nature. You've already dealt with the expectations of your family, but there's a true part of you that was there before all of the other noise started coming in, and people started telling you who you were, or what you should be, or what you should do. And you had dreams, and you had true self-expression, because kids don't really have filters. It's the beautiful thing about children. There can be things about that aren't beautiful. If your child has ever said something startling to a stranger, then you know those moments when you're like, ee, would have been dandy if you hadn't said that. But before you develop those filters and that conditioning to fit in, that true expression of yourself existed within you. And another way to get in touch with that, where you are now, because obviously we are going to have changed and grown from when we were a small child, but that core part of who you are and that core expression of self was there, and that can give you an idea, can give you a clue. And another way that's very helpful in trying to identify who you are at this stage in life is images. Start collecting images of things that appeal to you. And by that, I mean it could be furniture, clothes, cars, and it may be the style of the clothing, the style of the furniture, the color, the feeling. Are you wanting that because of the actual clothing, or the feeling it inspires in you when you see that clothing? Because you may not really want to go emo, but the clothing gives you that rebel feeling. That feeling of power when you go against the grain, you buck the system. Is your inner rebel trying to come out? Is there something in your life that you feel like you need to rebel against? And really start to dig deep. And one of the ways to do that is to create a vision board based on these images, because each vision, each image is a clue to that deeper part of you. And you might even start to work it into how you express yourself in your environment, in your style, in your expression. And hold on, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. We don't want to go all in. You don't want to go from the 9-to-5 office lady or man to the emo kid overnight, because you're not going to be comfortable with that. It's going to take a few to really feel comfortable as you make these changes. So a little bit at a time. Maybe introduce some new accessories into your wardrobe, some new decor into your home, just little things here and there that start bringing you closer to that feeling of authentic self-expression. And you may find that the way you do your hair, even the way that you speak, no longer feels authentic. And as you get closer and closer to this true core essence, it's going to get easier and you're going to feel more confident, but you got to kind of ease into it. And another fun thing to do would be, if you want to do a trial run of the going all out, just go somewhere you don't normally go, where there are no expectations. There is no, no one knows you. Do you ever go on vacation and you notice that your vacation wardrobe is completely different than your day-to-day wardrobe? Like on vacation, you get to be the real you. Oh, that's the thing. Drive for an hour and go to a restaurant, or go somewhere where you can mingle for a little bit, where you can be somebody completely different. Just try it on for size. It can be very empowering, because what you'll find, you'll get way more rejection in your current environment than you will from complete strangers, because they have no expectation of you. They don't know you as anyone other than who you show up as that night. So that's one way to start building your confidence, so that when you do go back around your normal circle, you've already established that in yourself. You feel comfortable in this new version of you, this authentic version of you, and you're less likely to be bullied out of who you're becoming by the people who would prefer you stay how you are now. Stay in their comfort zone. And that's something that, for me, like I said, when I think of myself, I had worn my hair the same way pretty much since high school. I've had a couple times that I thought I'd cut it and I hated it, and then here I am. I don't really have an option at this point. And the day after I shaved my head, it's not completely shaved, I just cut it really short, and I don't know if it's gonna stay like this or if it's all gonna fall out. But I had to run errands. Like, I had to leave the house. I did not have an option. I couldn't hide and get used to it. And the first place I had to go was the bank, where a coworker that I had worked with when I was 18 years old works at that bank. And I walked in, and she looked up and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you look so cute." And I thought, oh wow, okay, well, because I was feeling very self-conscious. This was a drastic change for me, and I wasn't used to it yet. And then later that night, my guy and we went to early vote because we wanted to hit it. Didn't know how I was going to be physically able to go and vote on election day. We wanted to give it a time span so that I didn't miss it because I wasn't feeling well. So the first night the polls open, we go out to vote, and a coworker from my current company walks by, and I waved, and he looked at me really weird, and I said, "Hey, Jim," and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't recognize you. I'm used to you with your hair." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's my new do. And he was asking when I was going to be back and everything, but there was no, like, really awkward. No one else there responded to me in any way. I just was a lady with real short hair. So I'm sharing that because being around people who don't know you may help you build your confidence, but you may also be surprised at how well the people around you do accept it. Just keep it in the back of your mind that as you grow into your authenticity, there probably will be people in your circle who are not as accepting, and that you have to stay in your power and not let that discourage you from becoming everything that you're meant to be and expressing that into the world. And the vision board can actually help you piece together how you want to do that. How it's going to feel right for you by figuring out what appeals to you, why it appeals to you. And sometimes it's not the item itself, it's the feeling that you get when you see the item, because marketing is very much that way. Like, I remember I was looking through a catalog, and there was a woman wearing a dress spinning through a field of flowers. I didn't like the dress. I almost bought it. And the only reason was because I wanted to feel the way I imagined I would feel if I was spinning through a field of flowers. So maybe you don't need the dress so much as you need to go out and run around and spin through a field of flowers. But again, that will help you identify parts of yourself that aren't being addressed. Do you need to have more fun? Because that's another thing where we may desire something because we believe it will bring something into our life that we don't currently have, that we aren't currently growing in our day-to-day. So that's something else that this can help you do. This exercise in who am I? At my core soul level, who am I? Because truly, the Britney Spears example is when we go for too long not acknowledging who we are, not expressing who we are, and living in this facade, living behind this mask, in this avatar that we've created as our way of interacting with our world, we don't do well mentally, emotionally, even physically, because not being your authentic self does create dis-ease. When you're constantly putting on a show, that requires so much more energy than just being you. And when you've gone for so long not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not just by the people around you, but by yourself, you aren't acknowledging yourself. We're insulting ourselves when we do that, and we're shortchanging the world, because who you are is for a reason. And as you get to these deeper layers of yourself and you get back to this original part of your being, you may even find that you start to get dissatisfied with your work, with some of your social connections, with things that were a lot more surface level or just mediocre, things that you settled for because they weren't horrible, it was okay. And when you start getting real, getting very real, not only with who you are, but what you're willing to accept in your life, you'll get to the true essence of your purpose, what you were here to do, what you're passionate about. And when you live from that place of authenticity, when you live from that place of truth, of real, you find the right people. Yeah, you may lose some people in the process, but then you find out that, wow, those weren't my people. And you have a whole new social circle. I mean, some stay, you don't lose everybody, but you end up with people that love you for you, accept you for you. There is no condition about staying small to stay connected. And when you're in that, in the surroundings that you create from this authentic place, your life feels more vibrant. And you really stop caring about what other people think of you. You don't stop caring about being compassionate, about being a good person. You don't just walk around stepping all over everybody. It's just a matter of other people's opinions don't hold the weight that they used to. So I challenge you this Halloween to take the time to really think about, who are you? For real. Deep down, what parts of you have you kept small? What parts of you have been crying out to be expressed? Before you shave your head and beat somebody's car up with an umbrella out of frustration, who are you? When you find that answer, you'll find peace. You'll find peace within yourself. You'll create an environment that brings you so much joy. You'll feel comfortable in your own skin and finally be able to stand in the confidence that you're going to have to build at first. We don't feel that confidence when we first step out in this authenticity, when we start baby stepping into this new identity. Don't stop there. Don't let it intimidate you. The confidence will come. It's just going to take time. And the time's going to pass anyway. So, I hope this helps. And don't forget, you deserve to live your best life in the most authentic version of you, in your power as an autonomous being. We all have that right as human beings. Don't shortchange yourself. Okay, I think I'm done now. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this helps. If it does, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.